I can do this all day, mate.
Hey glitches, Brett here with my review for the third-person shooter for the PlayStation 4 by developer Ready at Dawn, The Order 1886. The Order 1886 takes place in an alternate London in the year 1886. As Sir Galahad, you and your fellow Knights of the Round Table are tasked with keeping the half-human, half-monsters, otherwise known as half-breeds, under control. With one of the Order's focal points being story, at no point does it fail to deliver. With great character development and an intriguing storyline, there are plenty of twists and turns that made the narrative of The Order 1886 great to witness.
Stand down. You have no idea who you're dealing with. We are not the enemy. Then prove it!
The alternate take on London's history and historical figures put into this richly detailed setting all help make this new intellectual property story one of the most interesting I've seen in a while. If only the developers would let me experience it without just looking at the pretty pictures. The world of The Order feels very much like a movie set, where all of the set decorations have been meticulously put into place and are not able to be touched. You end up getting tired of looking around for the one or two items that the developers have deemed you worthy of actually picking up. The thing is, there is actually very little of the world to explore as you make your way through the chapters, being dragged along through corridors and streets in pretty much straight lines. I don't have anything against linear games, and I understand that for the sake of the story, you don't want the player straying too far sometimes. Yet The Order feels like the developers were uncertain of how the player would take to the story, with sections consisting of nothing more than walking from point A to point B between cutscenes, pretty much making sure I was still paying attention. While you're busy searching for gameplay, you're treated to one of the most amazing looking games on this current generation of consoles. With cutscenes rendered in the game engine, the lines are blurred between the two. At times to the point that it wasn't until the prompt came up on the screen telling me how to move that I realised the cutscene had finished. The London skyline and main character models are stunning, and the only real letdown is in the lack of variety, such in takedown animations and enemy models. There are a couple of nice touches though, like when you shoot off an enemy's hat, which is worthy of a giggle. The game is a graphical marvel, and the developers over at Ready at Dawn should be commended for making an animated movie. Interactive movie. Video game up to this graphical standard.
Back off!
Now onto something that developers keep saying helps bring a cinematic feel to the game, and that's the letterbox format. In a cover-based third-person shooter, this can become a major problem, especially when in combat, knowing you have a nearly third of the screen going to waste. Constantly having to shift the camera around and still not being able to see over a wall, you notice that black bar running along the top, and it's distracting, and pissed me off on multiple occasions. I'm still trying to find studies that show that the letterbox format gives gamers a more cinematic experience. If anybody can help me out with a link that shows that developers aren't just using it as an excuse to cut graphical corners, please leave it in the comments. Otherwise, this is something that really needs to leave the world of gaming. In its 7 to 8 hour runtime, nearly half of that is probably cutscenes, with the rest being made up of gameplay ranging from quick time events, third person shooting, lockpicking, pushing paper around, and as I mentioned earlier, walking. Interestingly, the quick time events were, while there is an absolute shitload of them, some of the parts I enjoyed the most. While you have your standard QTEs, you also have the turning point, which would give you a choice. Of course, this didn't show up too often, with the rest of the QTEs being your standard button mashing. As far as the shooting mechanics go, they're pretty good, and you have some very interesting weapons that can be very fun to use. Besides standard pistol and rifle types, you have some pretty nice weapons made by your mate Nikola Tesla in your fight against the half-breeds. The main problem with the shooting in The Order 1886 is what you're shooting at. To make up for the enemy AI, or lack thereof, The developers seem to have sent them to the Rambo school of shooting, sometimes randomly spraying bullets either while being out in the open or tucked behind cover, even when I had my head poked out, not to mention multiple enemies walking into my crosshairs for easy kills. Of course, it's not like you won't get killed on a few occasions, with most of my deaths being out of frustration with the stupidity of the AI and wanting to actually mix things up a bit.
I've managed to capture one of the rebels.
The majority of the shooting sections are just waves and waves of attacking enemies, where a conveniently placed selection of weapons and ammo has been placed, making shooting sections at times come across as interesting as a duck shooting gallery. Not to mention the stealth sections, which come off as being an afterthought, and are more about trial and error and feel out of place. These sections were also the parts where that cinematic feeling letterbox format gave me the most grief. While you have companions with you through some of the chapters, they serve next to no purpose, other than glitching out and making for some pretty harsh moments. Luckily though, they are invincible.
Reloading! I'll give you cover. Keep them busy. I'm moving in. Aye.
They also can't really shoot for shit and are on par with the enemy AI. For a game that was delayed to still have issues with AI and gameplay, it makes me wonder what that extra time was spent on. The leather glove looks pretty damn good, doesn't it? It's unfortunate to see such a great story and amazing graphics be spoiled by gameplay that doesn't seem to have been held to the same standard. The Order 1886 loses its way when it comes down to actually being a video game, and in turn alienates those who it is aimed at, gamers. I'm giving The Order 1886 a 4.5 out of 10. Let me know what you think of The Order 1886 in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to Glitch News for more entertainment news and reviews. Cheers!
Oi!
It's on.
It's on.
It's on.